All season long, we've been calling it all aboard the Kroenke train because he has won every round of the 2017 iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. But now we come to a new test. Suzuka, the figure of 8 race circuit that really could make things interesting in terms of A, if Kroenke is going to be able to take 10 out of 10, but also if Kroenke will be able to take the championship at his home race in Nürburgring in a few weeks' time. We're live here at Suzuka. 74 degrees is the air temp, 57% humidity. It's 9 kilometers in terms of the wind, and it's cloudy. Last time we were here, we saw the Radicals invasion in terms of qualifying. Right now, Martin Kroenke goes fastest for the time being. Matt Backham second, Bonnerhausen third, Yelvaz in fourth, and Ollie Pakula, your early top 5. It's Wilvinson with Jonathan Simon. And Johnny, after race day, this race has got a lot to live up to.
It definitely does. Welcome, everybody, once again. This has been, we've had entertaining qualifying sessions all season, and for the past 2 years here, we've had entertaining qualifying sessions too. Don't forget, 2 years ago, it was the first time that we had dynamic track implemented in iRacing, and it really spiced up qualifying. And then what about the Radicals front row that Will mentioned earlier? Last year, Rofilio and Umeshima locking out the front 2 positions. But Mac Backham, who's currently in second to teammate Martin Kroenke on provisional pole, he returns after a race suspension after that mockery of a start at Indianapolis.
Yeah, we're on board though with Gregor Hutu because he's on to a flying lap right now. Hutu through the S's, and you talked about these S's being difficult on RaceSpot race day. They tighten up each corner, then you end up in the Dunlop curve, that long sweeping left-hander. But Hutu right now, this is his last chance, I would argue, to make a statement because the next 2 tracks do favour Coanda over Redline.
Yeah, they do. So Redline now are at a track where I think this type of downforce package could suit them quite a bit. Here's Hutu coming towards the hairpin. Lots of lines you can take around here, but you want to utilize as much of the camber as possible. On the exit of Spoon, it's really full throttle through here. You're just trying to scrub off as less speed as possible. Then towards Spoon, there's just no margin for error on this racetrack, Will. And look at Hutu, pinpoint perfect. But is it going to be quick on the timesheets? That's the question.
1:29.274 is the time to beat right now. There's a big gap between Martin Kroenke and his teammate Matt Backham. Marty Peter Turner makes it a Coanda 1-2-3 right now. Stephen Michaels, we talk about surprises in qualifying. Michaels currently in P4 in qualifications, Trek Shawhorse in 5th, then Bonnerhouse in 6th. So Hutu, is he going to slot in around his teammates or will he go faster? He goes to 2nd place.
Yeah, but half a second off Martin Kroenke, most importantly. So is this a battle really for P2 right now? Has Kroenke already got one hand on the trophy? What can Mitchell de Jong do, Martin Kroenke's teammate? He's rounding around the Spoon curve right now.
Yeah, as we've just seen there, Jake Sturgis 19th place, Fernand Kern right now in the Apex Racing Machine. 1:32 is his best lap, currently in that 21st position on an out lap. Backham, though, is what we want to pay attention to. Here is the driver of Mac Backham through the Casio Triangle. Best time so far, 1:29.729. Holds the ultra inside line, goes back up to P number 2.
Yep, so Fluke as well up into P3 to end the lap. Brilliant stuff from Jamie Fluke. Where's Mitchell de Jong? He's only good enough for 5th. So Mitchell de Jong, surprisingly, 5th place is all he can do. Last year's pole sitter and Mo Garfilio can do no better than 6th, although that's very impressive from the Radicals driver here. And this is going to be a very competitive qualifying session, Will, with 33 drivers out there competing.
Yeah, you've only got 3 teams inside your top 5. But you've got Jamie Fluke there in the Apex Racing UK machine in 3rd place right now. Antoine Hegland just moved up into 7th place. Mo Garfilio for Radicals Online in P number 6. And actually, he is light years away from anyone else in that Radicals Online team. So again, there are certain drivers that can get it done on the day. But we haven't yet seen Kazuki Umeshima, who we think is always really good at this track. But of course, Radicals last year had a great package. They seem to have a good package again this year. as we will see them on track, I would think, in the next couple of moments. Kazuki Umeshima is on track as we speak right now, heading himself down towards Spoon Curve.
Yep, and you might think that Kazuki at his home track means nothing because they are virtual. But if you think about it, and we've mentioned this round after round, that a lot of drivers actually train and practice at their home track the most because they do love it and they did grow up with the venue of Suzuka throughout their lifetime. Umeshima speeding away. He's on a quick lap right now, Will. I don't think so. Is he beginning a hot lap?
Yeah, his speed for the 130R was interesting. Let's have a listen. Towards start-finish line. 12th. That's not good for Umeshima. He needs to get back out immediately.
Yeah, he definitely does. It looked like a scruffy lap. That's why I was questioning whether this was a hot lap or not. So he's just ahead of Alexei Usiakala, who also returns to the series. Good to see Alexei out there in the number 3 red line car. Hutu is just about to begin another hot lap, staying wide. Doesn't Timo Glock it into the wall, and he opens DRS to begin the lap.
We're on board again then with Gregor Hutu. He's fallen down to 4th place now. But interestingly, there's only about a tenth of a second between Matt Backerman 2nd and Gregor Hutu in 3rd place. Mitchell de Jong is on track as well. He's currently scored in P number 5. Mo Garfido is on track. He is currently scored in P number 6. There is a driver of Mitchell de Jong heading himself in towards the S's. He's in the S's right now. Mo Garfido, you can just see right now, he is working himself through turn number 2 as we speak. So it will be Hutu past the line first, then de Jong, then the driver of Mo Garfido.
Yep, so Mogar, who definitely has a good shot here at the front row. And it would be 2 years in a row on the front row from Mogar Filio. That would be very impressive, but Hutu comes towards Spoon Curve, and I think he's probably going to improve on his time. We'll have a look at everybody else, but the track is going to rubber in towards these closing stages. So let's see if Hutu actually has a shot here at beating Martin Kroenke, although half a second's a lot of time to make up.
We've seen it before. The gap between himself and Marcus Jensen in qualifying is only 2/100ths of a second. Frank Shorehorse up into 2nd place, but still a quarter of a second behind Martin Kroenke, doing that 129.274. Gregor Hutu now past the start-finish line. What will he do? He's up to 3rd, behind Frank Shorehorse.
Yeah, brilliant stuff from Hutu. So Shorehorse, the other red line driver ahead, incredibly. Where are the rest of the guys there? Filio now coming towards the Casio triangle. De Jong crosses the line. He's on the front row alongside Kroenke. Not enough for pole, but here's Mogar Filio, the Brazilian. Pole position last year. Where's he going to be in 2017?
For Mogar Filio, 5th. Not bad.
Not bad at all. I like that. Good performance from him. Exactly what Radicals need. It's about the race pace next. Jamie Fluke, not sure if he has another lap in him in this qualifying session. He's done. Kroenke is going out though. So Kroenke, I think, now has understood that the times are starting to creep towards him, and he's under pressure a lot. Big name, by the way, Pascalis Georges, who was 4th on the grid last race, is currently only in P21. Look at the oscillation in positions there. And Olli Pakala, former race winner, no better than P25 at the moment. He is not going to start better than that position.
But then Wernsing up into 10th place. That's fantastic for him and his team. Just having a look at Wernsing, actually. I mean, that is a fantastic run for that Radicals Online number 4 machine. As Martin Kroenke, I think he will do this lap just for the hell of it. And he will try, I think, to get into 129.1 range.
Oh, wow. I reckon he could even better that more, depending on how well the track rubbers in. I think he could even go into the 28s. In last year's pole time anyway was 1 minute 31.9. So these times are much, much quicker. Here he comes towards the hairpin. Pure, clean lap. Runs it a little bit deep, but you can pick it up with a late apex. Who else is out there on the racetrack? Jamie Fluke. No, we already mentioned he's not.
Georges just moved up to 15th.
Up into 15th. Yeah. So Georges up to 15th, but here's Kroenke now to end the lap.
Dion Verges is the only other driver on track right now. He moves up to 27th place on the grid. But here then is the driver of Martin Kroenke as he heads himself now into Sector 3, deep into Sector 3. 130R, flicks it left. hits that curve perfectly in towards the Casio triangle. Right, left, right again downhill. He will take the lap. What will he do then? Martin Kroenke, will he go faster? The answer is 1:29.274 was his time to beat. Doesn't do it.
Nope. No, he did make a mistake at the Casio triangle there towards the end of the lap. So is that the first time this season? I can't remember if we've actually seen Kroenke not improve on his time. But who cares? He's got pole position and a Coanda front row lockout.
Yep. So that is qualifying in the books, and there is your results. Martin Kroenke gets himself pole position once again by 2 tenths of a second over teammate Mitchell de Jong in Coanda Simsport. Then it's an all-team red line row number 2, but Frank Shawhorst qualifies ahead of Gregor Hutu. Mogarfilo, 3rd place for Radicals Online. Former Radicals Online driver, now Coanda Simsport driver Matt Backham on the outside of row number 3. Then Jamie Fluke, Marcus Jensen and Antoine Heglin make it 3 Apex Racing UK drivers in a row, P7 through 9. Daniel Arndt Wensing rounds out your top 10 here today. And then we cycle on back. P number 11, Martin Piatella, Bono House and P number 12 here today, Johnny.
Yeah, well, I have to check the... apparently I'm the stats guy, so I have to check what his worst performance is in his career, but that's definitely not good for Bono House. Actually, I can confirm that's the worst, or second worst he started this season, apart from Road America, where he started 14th.
Notable mention, Stephen Michaels, 13th place. David Accor, 17th place for Orion Race Team. Radicals Online, Judah Saito at his home track. He's only in P number 20 right now. We cycle on back towards the end of the field. There you see the drivers who have qualified, Jake Sturgis, all the way down in P number 30. We'll step aside and we'll be back in 1 moment's time here on RaceSpot TV.
Get ready, going green. Green, green, green!
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, here to RaceSpot TV on iRacing Live. We're going to start by showing you a lap on board with the driver. Actually, we're going to just cycle this back about 40 seconds, but this is a lap then on board with the driver of Martin Kroenke from the VRS Commander Sim Sports team. And you just notice the first thing, it's what we're focusing on, the way he takes that final corner on the outlap, holds that inside line, runs it down in towards turn number 1. But again, Martin Kroenke been fantastic, but he deliberately did it on that first lap here today. Johnny, that second lap wasn't as fast.
I think you made a couple of mistakes on that second lap, because the first lap really, and we know Martin Kroenke's, we don't even know if he's a human being. I've never met him in real life, because he's just like a robot out there. He's insanely quick, no mistakes. The first lap's really the banker, and you're going about 90-95%. It's that second lap where you go 100% and you push to the limit. So he's made a couple of mistakes, but he got it done with the banker. I mean that's a hard skill to master for a lot of drivers. His self-confidence and belief in that car is just incredible.
So this is Kroenke then heading himself out of the hairpin down towards Spoon Curve. We brought Jake Sperry back into conversation here as well. And while Jake, we talked earlier on about world's fastest gamer here on iRacing in this car, McLaren MP4-30, not the FW31 like I accidentally said earlier on today, but Kroenke has been unbeaten now in over 10 races in this car. But he might not be running in World's Fastest Gamer, we've heard. Off the grapevine.
Off the grapevine, it's not confirmed at all, but it's something that I think people are maybe in the know thinking of expecting. So it does throw a massive door wide open to whoever wants to try and get in and qualify. It just goes to show, if the top guy doesn't race and you got the drivers who are under 18 who can't race, there isn't really too much that you can argue about it. To get through iRacing qualifying is going to be really, really important for a lot of people to go through. Not just that, to race up against the likes of, say, Gregor Hutu, Bonner House, who's already in there. And let's talk about Isaac Price as well. Not here today. He's busy qualifying in the final in Berlin today. Yeah,
so Isaac Price might punch his own ticket into the World's Fastest Gamer event. But worth noting as well, actually, Jake, that it's not actually, in my opinion, going to be Commander or Redline who would punch a ticket. It would be the Apexes versus the NXs versus the Commanders. Not the Commanders, the Radicals versus maybe the Vortex drivers.
Maybe. It's a difficult situation to see. I think that what's happened with Inex, I think they have dropped off a cliff in terms of their Grand Prix program. I think they're looking now to scale back more towards a GT3 aspect. But yes, and NASCAR. But yes, I certainly do agree with you in the sense that it might not necessarily be Red Lines and Coanders. Yes, you are still going to be able to see the likes of, say, Mac Backham and Marty Piatella try and go for it. Yes, you may still see the likes of Freek Schothorst trying to get in and make it, but it is a very difficult situation in qualifying. You don't know who's going to turn up. There may be drivers even outside of the World Championship going for this who have that turn of pace, who have that ability to prove themselves. Drivers like, say, a Jerome Kvekel or a Ricardo Orozco who could jump into this series, who could go and prove their mettle and become a massive asset over this autumn-winter period. I tell you what, Will, it's going to be a very interesting silly season come January.
Yeah, and the other thing I'm thinking about as well is that Martin Kroenke needs a 100-point advantage to win the championship after this event. Currently, Bonner House is on 254 points. Martin Kroenke is on 312. So, unless Bonner House crashes at the start of this event, Johnny, the race for the championship will go down to the Nürburgring next time out. However, Bono House is qualifying in P number 11, 12 here today. That might mean he might be involved in a Lap 1 incident. And if that happens, and he finishes at the rear of the field, I'm doing the math in my head right now, championship could be over here today.
It could be. So, 39 points for a victory, multiplied by 2, you got 78. So that's the target that is needed at the moment. With Bono 58 points behind, it's that 20 points that he needs at the moment. And that's where... finishing inside at least if Kroenke wins, Bono at least needs to finish this at top 15, I think top 16. Yeah. So that's where he's going to need to get those points. And it's ever so critical right now that if Kroenke, it's really not going to happen today in most cases, but with Bono starting in the mid-pack, and we'll talk about it in a second's time. We haven't spoken about the start yet, but with Bono in a mad scrambling dash of cars around him, all trying to prove themselves, that mid-pack at Suzuka is very, very nerve-wracking, especially if you're a driver like Bono, who should be in the top 3.
And if you're a driver like Marta Piatella, Stephen Michaels, Kazuki Omashima, Pastas Gergis around him, you're not going to care at the start of the race. You want to get positions. You don't care if you've got what I call championship rings around your tyres like they have in IndyCar. You want position, and Bono House is going to have to fight his way through this early stage of the race, because it's not about turn 1, it's not about turn 2, it's about the S's for me that causes the biggest issue in this car.
Yeah, well, that's one of the things, and I mean, everybody's just going to have to do their job at the start, like we said at Spa. Everybody's going to have to be spatially aware, and once one person makes a mistake, Constantina's at Suzuka, especially on the run down to turn 1, where you're really trail braking in an angle, so that's where it becomes very difficult. Everybody just has to be cautious and realize this race is very long. But the incentive of being over-aggressive at the start is that it's not easy to overtake around this racetrack. So we are going to see a thrilling first few corners, all the way down to really the spoon curve, and then you'll start to see cars form up. The question is, though, Jake, has Bono House got this into his head too much? Because we said at the start of the season, this is still Gregor Hutu's team, but we expected a lot from Bono House. But as the season progressed, with Gregor Hutu not competing every round this year, and then also Bono having to take that number 1 mantle on the team, I'd say a year too early, I think he's cracking.
I think he's really struggling under the pressure that he's given him. He's become the biggest poster boy in sim racing at the time when I think we are just about to hit the boom period right now. You talk about the likes of him being that winner in the Visa Vegas E-Race. You talk about him getting a guaranteed spot in the World's Fastest Gamer finals. You talk about him coming over to iRacing and having to try and prove himself. And it proves to everyone that he's qualifying P12s now. He's qualifying in and around the top 10, where before World's Fastest Gamer came into play, he was up there qualifying P2s, P3s, concentrating on every single race. I think he is very heavily distracted at this moment, Will. And I think for Bono House, I think he's thinking about 2 different things, and this is going to bring in some inter-team rivalry between himself and Gregor Hutu, because both of them are looking to try and get the same spot in World's Fastest Gamer. The issue that Hutu has is he's coming to the end of his career in sim racing. He's 37, so for Bono House, he's got the world at his feet in his mid-20s already. I think that he has better things to be focusing on. More rather, he's got to focus about beating Kroenke. Red line are nowhere right now.
About a strategy for today, though, here, Johnny, it's the case of Kroenke and De Jong, again, means a command of front row means, I'm not going to say De Jong can protect the driver of Martin Kroenke, because we know how hard these two have raced all season, but it means that Shorthorst and Hutu into turn number 1, they will need a miracle start here today. Johnny agrees so much, he's silenced once again.
Apologies, technical issues there, but I'm back. So only 380 meters down to turn 1 from pole position, so it's not easy for Shorthorst and Hutu to do anything from that second row. And with the drivers becoming so accustomed to these cars now at the start, unless you have a thrilling start like Matt Backham at Indy, there really is no chance for you to make or get a nose in front at all. So I think Kroenke and De Jong will work together. And we do remember there was a race here where these two were the quickest, and I think Coanda, this circuit, they've mastered so well. But at the starts anyway, Will, if you've practiced enough, you're not nervous anymore. Some drivers say they're nervous at the start, their legs shake, but I think once you're not a rookie anymore and once you've got a few races under your belt, the start is a relatively straightforward affair. It's just about getting the procedure right, getting into turn 1, trying to get a nose ahead, and then focusing on that first pit stop. To quickly talk about strategy before we end our pre-race show, we're looking at about lap 20 onwards is when that pit window will open, and I think that's it could be earlier if guys find themselves stuck in traffic though.
But the thing today is making sure you don't get hit in traffic, but also making sure that you're in a situation where you can compete for not necessarily a race win, but a podium or a top 5 or a top 10. Because at the same time as this going on, the championship battle, there's also the battle to get your license for 2018. So we will step aside here on RaceSpot TV and on iRacing Live, and when we come back, it'll be time for race time here in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. We'll be right back with our race coverage.
Watch Ernie, go, go, go. All right, car right, car right, car right. Watch, jam it. Get ready. Dude, 4 heads up in that. Jeez.
Right on the back wing. Can he make it happen?
Yes! Yes! Push like hell. We gotta stay in front of these guys.
Both drivers on the push to pass. Contact in the pit lane.
All right, 60. Let that eagle fly. What do I do? What happened? Push here. Push hard. Let's go get this guy. Car outside. We're behind you. Toe. Clear outside. Good job. Just spun behind you. I don't know if you got him or not.
He got out of it so hard. Look at these guys are all over the back.
Full throttle.
IndyCar.
The in and out lap.
What's next?
Come and get the checkers, big boy. Oh, baby, that was good. He hit me. Inside, outside.
2017 Verizon IndyCar Series. See what's next.
Get ready, going green. Green, green, green.
Welcome to Suzuka. It's Honda's test track, and it's one of the only figure 8 racetracks in the entire world. And today it plays host to the 10th round of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series here on RaceSpot TV and on iRacing Live. 4 minutes remaining in warm-up before the drivers head themselves down to the starting grid. It's Wolverhampton along with Jonathan Simon, as the track temperature here today is 77 degrees. Humidity is 73% and 16-kilometer wind speeds here today. And Jonathan, the humidity and the wind speed is what might make some drivers very, very worried.
It definitely will. Good afternoon, everybody. Once again, another round of the World Championship coming up, and more hot temperatures on the racetrack. 42-degree track temp, you said. Along with all these high winds, boy, are these cars going to be tough to handle towards the end of a stint, especially. So look out for that. We know that pit window will open around about lap 20 onwards. Will it open earlier, depending on traffic, though? Will, if some drivers find themselves stuck behind others based on their poor qualifying results?
Well, Bono House is one of those drivers that we're talking about here today, and Bono House needs to finish 18th or higher to remain in the championship here today, but he starts low down the field in outside the top 10, and that means that he could well be involved in any incident in that mid-pack.
Yeah, definitely can. So he has to look out for that at the start. He has to make sure that he just keeps it clean and does his job. He's spatially aware that there are going to be drivers around him more aggressive towards the end of the season, whereas Bono is one of those drivers that is near the top most of the time. He's not used to these situations, and trust me, Bono, throughout his sim racing career, as soon as he jumped in, he was always insanely quick. So to see him towards the mid-pack, it's like seeing a driver such as Lewis Hamilton, who's always been in a top car. It's like seeing someone like that in the mid-pack, which is not common for them.
But remember, Gregor Hutu has qualified outside the top 5 at this track before and been involved in issues. Ollie Pakula has been involved in issues. This is not a good Team Redline track. That's the biggest issue for me.
Yeah, definitely. But I think that the low downforce they struggled with, and I think now coming to high downforce, really what we're saying there is that there's no track that suits Redline. No. But I think anyway, having them 3rd and 4th is really a good achievement. It's just the fact that their expectations is to be world champions, and that's why they might be disappointed with that. But if you put Jamie Fluke in 3rd, or if you put any other driver down there, Jake Sturgis, Remignac, I'm just looking at a list of drivers down the order. If they were 3rd and 4th, they would love that. So
yes.
Redline for expectations, maybe be slightly disappointed.
But for Hutu, it's better than his qualification a couple of years ago when he did start in that mid-pack. And that's the thing going on in the back of my head, is that could Bono House end up having the kind of Hutu treatment or being wiped out in the middle of the S's? And the thing is, for House now, that championship is no longer in his hands at all.
Yeah, so, I mean, he just has to do the best job he can. It probably will go down to next round where Kroenke will wrap it up, but we'll have to wait until the end of lap 1, won't we, to see that. So that's where things will get much, much more interesting. But nevertheless, though, race coming up. Good to see Mac Backham, though, not to just switch subjects quickly, but Mac Backham from his race suspension, he's back. Jamie Fluke still maintaining some good pace. And Marcus Jensen's gone very underrated for Apex. Good job from him.
He has, indeed, but Marcus Jensen could be a big factor in that team, making sure they get as many drivers into the 2018 World Championship Grand Prix Series as possible. 43 seconds remaining then in terms of qualifications. Alexei Yusiako leads the practice session, the warm-up session here over other drivers. Jamie Fluke in 2nd, Mogarfilo in 3rd, Gergis in 4th place. But what we saw last year is Radicals Online getting 1-2 on the grid and then struggling in the race. We don't expect Koana to have that bad an issue. I mean, they haven't had that bad an issue since the first round that we ever had in these McLaren's cars. But qualifications doesn't mean everything here.
It doesn't. Race pace is a different tough cookie to really break here. I never figured out Suzuka, and I think it definitely is the fact that qualifying and the race are different, and some drivers don't bode well at this circuit. And we've seen some names here down the order where I feel like they should be higher up. I mean, Gergis last round at Spa was 4th. only 15th this round for core. So not sure what's going on with the core team. Maybe Isaac Price's absence makes a huge difference there in terms of the setup. But just remember that Suzuka is a very, very technical track. It's not only about setup. The driver makes a huge difference here. So this is one of, if not the toughest track on the calendar. Here we go. Race time, though.
Yeah, grid showing up on your screen as we speak. 34 drivers here today looking to do the business in this event. As the drivers now are getting themselves ready to go racing here at Suzuka. The key thing is not turn number 1, not turn number 2. It's not 1990 anymore. It's a case of what you can do throughout the course of this motor race. And out front, you got yourself the driver of Martin Kroenke, who has won every single round of this championship so far. The lights go on then on terms of the iRacing.com gantry. Ready to go racing. Lights on. Lights out. Here we go then, and what a start actually by the driver of Matt Backham, going past Hutu, trying to go past the driver of, that is going to be Ali Pakala, not Ali Pakala, it's Frank Shawhorse into turn number 1 and 2, but your two kind of drivers out front get the early advantage, and now it's actually P number 1 and 2 and P number 4 for Coanda, and the driver of Frank Shawhorse had to hold on big time there to the driver, is running in that 4th position right now of Matt Backham. Backham, a fantastic start here.
Yeah, he's figured out something, hasn't he, in the McLaren, that he does well at the starts. So here they go now towards the hairpin, out of the Degners, and they're all starting to form up here towards this stage of the lap. But what a start from Backham. And Shawhorse went entirely defensive to defend from that, and it was very, very smart because he maintains P3, and he's red lines hope now of challenging the two Coanda cars.
Yep, so these drivers are going to work themselves now towards Boone Curve for the first time in this 53-lap event here today at Suzuka. It's not one of the quickest races we will see, but it is always one of the most entertaining we will see, as Backham in that 4th place right now, Gregor Hutu right behind him, Marcus Jensen in 6th place, Mike Garfilo in 7th, side by side between Bono House and Daniel Arndt Wernting. And actually, Bono House has not been able to improve from P number 11 at the start of this event here today.
No,
Wernting turns around.
Oh, Daniel Arndt. And where is he? He's still waiting for everybody to go through. So he's doing the smart thing there. And he's going to rejoin. I think that's about 25th position because he's behind Tomo Meglic. But here they go now to end the lap. Talking about drivers in battles, Alexiu Siakala alongside Daniel Bieder. And Alexiu Siakala, he's a driver who's also remained stagnant at the start along with Bono.
But Martin Kroenke continues to lead. Mitchell de Jong in 2nd place. Gap between de Jong and Shawhorse, that is going to be classified as 7/10 of a second as they work themselves through the S's in the 2nd lap of this event. And well, the two Coanda drivers have got themselves an advantage, but you cannot disadvantage the drivers behind because Hutu is there in the mix. And arguably, for the first time ever in World Championship history, Hutu has to basically help a teammate.
Yeah, that's going to be difficult. So Hutu's just going to have to accept reality there, but he's right now in P5, and I think Matt Backham's the first option at the moment. He has to get past him. Matt Backham just rocketed across the line, off the line, and that was just such a great start. But good starts as well, by the way. Let's not forget Marcus Jensen, who's behind Gregor. And also for Marty Piatella, who finds his way into the top 10. But Jamie Fluke, though, he's had all the pace in qualifying, currently in 10th, and Piatella runs wide. He's got a shot here at 9th position. Yeah, so Marty Piatella is up a couple of places, but Bono House is where he started, P number 11 here today in this event. Now, if he finishes 11th place, the championship does not end here. And the key thing for Bono House is he didn't get involved in an incident down on lap number 1. No, he didn't. So it is at the stage that's happening now. Kroenke with 39 points. Bono will be 11th, and he will receive 25 points for that. He has to finish 16th or higher, according to my calculations, for this championship to continue. So right now, the championship is going to go down to the penultimate round. But you'd have to say that Kroenke is probably going to seal it by then. But it's just the fact that this season's been so dominant, and this championship may only go down to that second last round, goes to show how short this calendar is this year, and how difficult it can be to actually win a sim racing championship.
There you see drivers heading themselves through the S's right now, and there's a lot of drivers doing all the same thing. We're having a look at the gap between Bono House and Jamie Fluke, but actually there's other stuff going on track as well. The closest battle we have is Alexei Yakola, currently scored in P number 17 versus the driver of Daniel Bida in Positive Sim Racing, the only Israeli driver ever to run in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. Already, lap number 3 is upon us, almost at the end of lap number 3, on board with Alexei Yakola. P number 17 is not what you expect Dracula to be like.
No, definitely not. But remember, this is his first race in quite some time now. He has been very inactive this season, and he's a former race winner, don't forget, in the championship, but that means nothing in the McLaren MP4-30, brand new machine. We've only had very few winners in this car over the past 2 seasons. He does have DRS on Daniel Bida in front. So he's a driver that might have to consider, if he does have the pace, by the way, might have to consider an early pit stop, because we know that window opens on lap 20 of the event.
Martin Kroenke has pulled out a 1.2 second advantage right now over Mitchell de Jong, and that is important because of the fact he's broken the DRS range. The DRS range exists when you're within 1 second of a driver. That means for Mitchell de Jong right now, he does not get any of that speed advantage at all.
Yep, and some drivers have also complained that they don't pick up as much of a slipstream advantage too. So de Jong being 1.3 seconds behind may not pick up much of a tow at all, if any, at this stage. So it's very difficult in this car to do that, and Kroenke is creeping away more and more. But the safe advantage, though, Will, is that de Jong also has the same buffer on shot horse behind.
Hutu, though, is close behind Matt Backham, and Backham, of course, a few years ago when he was a Radicals Online driver, had that crash with Hugo Louise, which caused so much controversy. Now we might see the driver Matt Backham versus Gregor Hutu for 4th place in this event.
Yep, so another world champion, and Matt could be fighting with him. Hutu's got DRS here. I think Backham's actually closer to Freight Shotos in front. And that was a very interesting accident there. And for some reason, I don't know why it was so iconic. It was just, I mean, that was the crash that cost Backham the fast track, wasn't it? The fast track to gain the license for 2016, which ironically he didn't take anyway when he won the Pro Series.
No. So having a look down at P number 25, actually, and this is Tomer Meglic versus Vakara right now. And we have got to pay attention in these last few rounds to those drivers in your mid to rear midfield, because they're not battling for position, they're battling for that opportunity to fast track their license in the 2018 World Championship Grand Prix Series.
Yep, so they're all trying to look for that red line in the standings where they say you have to go to the Pro Series and you get the license for next season. So these drivers are all scrapping away, the likes of Yuta Saito, Daniel Bida, even Alexei Yakola, who is not in that window to achieve a license, and that may be one of the reasons why Alexei Yakola is out there today. He needs a big haul of points over these last 3 rounds to get that license for next season.
One would expect that he could do that, but his qualifications doesn't always state that in terms of his qualification pace here this season. Tomer Meglic, by the way, is currently scored in the 25th position. He's got himself competition with Vakara, but Vakara's got even closer competition from Frederick Kern in that Apex Racing UK machine through the 130R in towards the Casio Triangle, and Kern can't do anything but it's a car turn around, and that is a driver of Montañez there.
Yep, Jorge Montañez. This is a corner where you'll see a lot of drivers spin. Could be a lock-up of the rears or just turned it in way too aggressively. But Jorge Montañez out in the way, and he's currently in effectively last position, but I think Picard has entered the pit lane, the first driver to enter this race.
And that driver of Jorge Montañez basically just looped it down the chicane, did catch another car. That might well have been the car of Vakara. Well, I'm just going to check there Yeah, Ficarra came onto pit road as a consequence of that in the Thrustmaster Movano racing machine. So Ficarra there, an incident not of his own making. We're on board of him for the replay of this. This is number 6 of 53 here today as we go on board of that number 13 car. But from what I saw, Ficarra did nothing wrong. He was just in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah, that's what's happened. We saw that in our support series races in the Formula Renault and the Porsche. And right now, I mean, that's happened to a lot of drivers now. 3 retirements already of Paul Lilbrink, Pascal Sturgis, Kevin Ellis Jr. And Holly Packle is down the back of the order too. So he's been involved in some form of incident in the early stages. And for Redline, this day keeps getting worse. But for Frank Schotthorst, seems to be that a podium is good enough for him. I saw him make a mistake at 130R a couple of laps ago in one of our cameras. So Backham is well within range here to get his way past Frank Schotthorst.
But Hutu's also in range there versus Matt Backham. But let's look at the lap times last time by. Hutu was slightly faster. He has been for the last 2 laps there over Matt Backham, but they've been running in that draft air. And I would say arguably, you've got to keep the biggest eye on Bonner House, because if he comes in early, he might be able to leapfrog a couple of drivers here. Currently 4 tenths of a second behind Jamie Fluke in the Apex Racing UK machine.
Yeah, so Bono, here they go through the Degner curves. Love the Degner curves, one of my favorite corners. They just fly under another great corner of 130 yard. That's going to come later on in the lap. But here they go. Here's the train going into the hairpin, or Kobayashi corner, as I think it should be officially named for the rest of eternity. And here they go now to Spoon. Look at Fluke, though. He's going to run here on Piatella, but these cars are so powerful in a straight line. It starts to nullify come the end of the straight. Off camber through the exit of the second Spoon. Fluke on the throttle picks it up. Here they go to 130R, and this is where the battles start to heat up.
The gap is still half a second between those 2 drivers, but out front, Martin Kroenke has picked up a 1.8 second advantage over Mitchell de Jong in that battle for the race lead. And again, Kroenke is doing what he's done all season long, turning the screws not only on his competitors, but also his own teammates. And well, de Jong, we've seen him be close, be within 1 second before, but this is like number 8 of 53, and already almost 2 seconds is the gap between Kroenke and de Jong.
Yeah, and so those guys have the gap, and those drivers, you think, okay, they're in DRS range, why aren't they getting past? This is that same form of, everybody has DRS and they're all on a train, so it nullifies the effect of DRS, but then everybody also deploys their ERS, energy recovery system, manually at the same points of the circuit, and that would be at the exit of the Casio Triangle, when they're heading over to that straight, maybe at the exit of the hairpin 2, where there's that run to Spoon curve, and at the exit of Spoon 2 wheel. So this is where you get these trains, and we've seen them throughout the time of the McLaren, where drivers just can't get past.
I was just having a look at the good news, if there is any good news right now for Bonner House. He's currently scored in 11th place on track, and he is 10 seconds behind your race leader. He is, however, 8 seconds ahead of where he needs to be to keep the championship alive into the Nürburgring. But one must now argue, Bonner House finishing outside the top 10 when you're second place in the championship is nowhere near respectable, in my opinion. And I'll go back, and you know, earlier in the start of this year, I talked about how Bonner House needs to get podiums and race wins in year number 1. He's got podiums, hasn't got a race win. Be P number 11, almost P number 12 actually, because here comes David Corp. Actually, it's him versus Jamie Fluke actually. I take that back. That's Bonner House moving himself up into P number 10. But still, even P number 10 for the driver of Bonner House, is that enough in the third to last round of the championship? Is that acceptable?
I'm more amazed the fact we just saw an overtake at Suzuka with all these DRS trains. So, I mean, that was... No, trust me, like, in this car, it's so difficult to overtake around here. But go back to what you're saying. No, it's not acceptable. He hasn't finished any higher than third. But just remember, he is second in the championship. I mean, what about all those other drivers who've given up on the championship and not come back? Drivers who have maybe set pole position, not shown up the next round. Other drivers who have had good results and just don't have the motivation. Bono's been there every round, contributing to the team and doing the best job he can professionally. And so that is what I care about as a team manager. Let's focus on next season for him. It is not easy switching between different sims, different cars, new car to get used to. He's a year behind, basically, in terms of World Championship experience.
He was a year behind, but now he's only 10 rounds behind. But you talk about Frank Shawhorse versus Matt Backham as well, because they've been battling it out for P number 3 and 4.
No, they have. So, to wrap up on Bono, I mean, I think everything's fine with him. I think he just needs to keep on improving. Backham, no, I don't think he has a shot on Frank Shawhorse here. Shawhorse they look identical on pace. In terms of straight line speed, it looks like Coanda might struggle just a bit today, or maybe that's just Mac Backham. Hegelen, though, is very close to Mo Garfilio, and I have to say, Will, very impressive to see a Radicals car up there in the top 7.
I'm also more impressed to see a Sonic car at Suzuka. Not Suzuka, at Monza. This is an old car, 1993, so I take that one back, but just having a look at a certain website that I cannot say for legal reasons, it's like, oh, look, there's a Sonic car there. Then realised this was back in 1993 at Brands Hatch. Brands Hatch, Donington Park even. Donington Park, that's the one. And the driver is Ayrton Senna, if you really need any more clues. But we are currently, Bono House versus Marty Piatella is a big battle going on. Piatella is 0.3 of a second ahead of Bono House right now, 0.4 ahead. I think it's at the hairpin down towards the spoon curve. But Piatella, we know, is one of these drivers that doesn't ever give up places easy, but always seems to find places in a motor race.
He is, isn't he? 3rd in the championship. He started this. Let's go stats on you, Will. Let's confuse your mind a little bit. He started his average starting position has been 14th this season, Marty Piatella, and he's 3rd in the championship. Wow. He just makes up positions. He finds a way to get it done. He's consistent. And he's well and more than experienced in this championship. Right now, though, he's got a big dilemma on his hands. Is he going to have to do this through strategy or through passing on the racetrack? And I don't know why. I think he's forgotten to enable DRS here on this main straight.
Drivers out of this event so far are Paul Ilbrink, Pashless Gergis, and Kevin Ellis Jr. We are looking, though, at the battle going on between Marty Piatella and the driver of Bono House right now, who scored in the 10th position. House, though, cannot find a way, even then, to find a way past Marty Piatella through that first section. And actually, Bono House is slower through sector number 1 compared to the Finnish driver in that Coanda car.
Yep, so here they go through the Degner curves. Such difficult corners. There's the camber through the exit. He definitely is. Where's he going to find that time, though? You just have to look for Piatella's weaknesses. And there's one there. Lock up, bit of a slide through the hairpin. And look at the run Bono has here on the exit. It's just about the slipstream. I think he just might be a touch behind, though.
Yeah, he's not going to be close enough to make the move into the spoon curve, which is what we're coming into now. But you will get a move potentially out of the 130R. So we're going to stay on board with Bono House there through this corner. But the dirty air is what's really hurting Bono House through the spoon curve, because now he's nowhere near close enough to make a move into spoon curve. Spoon curve, the 130R, even less so into the triangle.
Yeah, had a twitch there through 130R, so he saved it. Here they go through the Casio triangle and through the exit. Easy stuff here. And to begin another lap. Lap 12 of 53, so pit stops coming in about 7-8 laps time. Let's have a look at Alexei Usiakala here. Battle for P15 along with Ilkka Haapala.
Yep, that's a battle between teammates there, and Ilkka, not a battle between teammates, battle between compatriots, country compatriots. But Ilkka Haapala is able to get ahead of Alexei Usiakala, and this is how it happened. We're on board then with the driver of Alexei Usiakala. I take that back. The driver on board with Ilkka Haapala.
Have they ever been teammates in the past? I don't know if they have. Without Glacier?
No, not with Glacier, because Ilkka's always been on a Ryan race team. But Ilkka Haapala was able to stay ahead there, down into turn number 1 and 2.
The thing is that a lot of these drivers, you look at these amateur leagues you enter when you first start sim racing, and even in iRacing you have leagues that you can host, and a lot of these drivers that start out, some of these might have raced together about 6-7 years ago, and those amateur leagues don't get enough credit, like Trele and all these other Finnish leagues, and there's a couple of Australian leagues I know of that I'm not going to name it. Go on all day, and you race against these guys, you learn the trick of the trade, you make the mistakes there, and then when you go to the World Championship, you learn so much. It's like getting drafted into the big leagues. And then when you go back to those amateur leagues, you realize, oh, I'm now 1.5 seconds faster than everybody else, and it's no longer the same fun it used to be. So those are the leagues that really taught everybody the racing etiquette and really the basics of sim racing, and that's why they're so important as growing mechanisms for especially young sim racers and new sim racers.
Last time by, Matt Backham was 3/100ths of a second slower than Gregor Hutu. But Hutu, whilst he tries to gain over Backham, is not able to do anything much. But Backham's in the middle of a kind of Team Redline sandwich right now because the driver of Frank Shawhorse runs himself in that third position, and Shawhorse is not going fast any well in what you need him to be. He's currently 3.5 seconds behind Mitchell de Jong, but is also classified as a total of, get this right, 1 minute. We'll sort this one out, shall we? I can't find the graphic anymore. The graphic doesn't exist anymore.
No.
He's currently 5.9 seconds behind your race leader.
Yeah, Shawhorse, yeah. I think Backham, would he have to consider an undercut here, perhaps, to get past Shawhorse? Because he's not going to finish 1 and 2. Surely he's not going to be faster than Kroenke or de Jong. So we might as well just go for the Coanda 1, 2, 3.
But he could do. That's the thing, because if Backham does that, it will be a Coanda 1, 2, 3. And actually, when's the last time we've ever had a Coanda 1, 2, 3 in a World Championship Series race?
That's a great question. Did we have one this year? I can't remember.
We've had one for Redline in the past. I know that one. I don't think we've ever had one for Coanda, though.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. There was what happened at Spa last year? Right? Who were the top 3? I know Piatella was on the podium.
But I think it was
third in that race. That was Joni Tormula.
Yeah, that's what I was
thinking. Joni Tormula third. So, yeah, that's a great question. Who's our stats person this round? I'm too busy commentating.
It's you. That's the issue.
That's too busy. I can only do so many things at once. But
down in your field, by the way, you've got yourself Yuta Saito trying to fight it out with the likes of Alexei Yusiakoda. The gap is about 4/10 of a second between them right now. And in terms of lap times, well, Yuta Saito has been faster the last 2 laps over the number 3 machine. And again, Team Redline down in P number 16. What's going on here?
Nah, it's his first race back, so he's definitely not.
You know what? You say that. I don't care. You're a Team Redline car. You're actually Yusiakoda. You've won races in the World Championship Grand Prix Series. You shouldn't be in P number 16.
That is true. So let's see. You never know what's happening behind the scenes. We know that Graham Carroll's not here too. I'd love to see him more and see what he can do in that Team Redline car. But they just don't have the same edge that they had in the Williams, right? So it's just something for them to figure out. With we also had news, Yao Vaz, black flagged from this event in P20 by the stewards.
Diego Oliveira is trying to battle it out with Daniel Bieder. So this is 2 positive sim racing drivers right now, P number 18 and 19. And Oliveira is going a little bit faster right now. But if you're 2 teammates, you end up in the same situation we've had with Hamilton and either Rosberg or Bottas over the last couple of years. And I think Oliveira actually is the fastest of these 2 drivers right now.
Yeah, so Bieder's dropped off the pace. Remember, he was battling with Alexei Yusiakoda earlier on in the event, so Oliveira now would probably be... He doesn't have headlights to flash, does he? So no. It's not like the Porsche Super Cup. Going to have to try to make his way through, or if they're on the same sort of TeamSpeak channel, they'd be communicating with each other.
Yao Vaz is the first driver on towards pit road really here today, and he'll come out in P number 28, I will believe, in that Orion race team car. Yeah, that is for the black flag.
Yep, so, yeah, sorry to interrupt there. Is he, he's not retiring that car, is he? It's a very long black flag.
He's a very long black flag. I mean, he did a service as well, so unless he got another immediate penalty, the Yao Vaz number 46 machine Orion race team is going to be classified as out of this event. Johnny, you carry on for a moment.
Yep, so Vaz out in the pit lane. It was a 30-second black flag. That's what he's received. And he's going to be all the way down the bottom end of the order. 30 seconds to make up on the next driver in front. Everybody behind him is actually out of the event. So at this time as well, Kroenke, De Jong 2.5 seconds away, Schotters 4 seconds behind them. Those top two, there is no chance that anybody's going to catch them, and they will probably have to wait longer. Remember, that pit stop window's opening in a few laps time. They'll probably have to wait a little bit longer until than everybody else, because they don't want to make the pit stop and feed out into traffic. So they're the ones who have to wait. And I think maybe they've taken care of their tires a little bit better than everybody else. So being at the front, they've got a lot of pace. So just ahead there as well. Schotters third, as we mentioned. Bakken very close behind. Hutu's been quiet, hasn't made his way past Mac Bakken at all, but he's still in the top 5. And remember, Hutu did start this race from that 4th position, so he has dropped down 1 position in the order. Marcus Jensen behind. The young Marcus Jensen, one of the youngest drivers on the grid, is in 6th. Brilliant performance from him.
He's
and right
done a good job,
it's
Jensen, actually, isn't he?
He has. It's always good to see Mo Garfilio at 7th. We mentioned the Radicals driver, who has been last year he was much worse than this, along with Umashima, and now I mean, 13 seconds off the lead at this point is incredible, and I like to see that.
But also for me, the fact that Matt Bakken, Frank Shawhorse, Gregor Hutu in a train right now, this will come down to not what your pit stop time is, how quickly you get on and off of pit road. And pit road here is very difficult.
It's difficult. It's downhill too.
Yep.
So that's I've got some bad memories with that.
Me too.
And the pit entry too. I mean, just making your way out of the final chicane and trying
it's off
to...
camber, that's the issue.
It's off camber, and it's so tight too as well. I don't even think... I'm not making this up. I've almost gone too wide in there once, battling with someone, because you're alongside each other, then you're like, oh, we're both going to pit at the same time. And yeah, that's a traumatic story, to say the least.
Yes. So we are on lap number 17 of 53 right now. We've had one driver coming towards pit road. That's because of a penalty. But we are getting close to that pit road window right now. It's a 53-lap race here today. So the latest we expect people coming from pit road is about lap number 28, we will say. But Martin Kroenke still leads. And actually, for Martin Kroenke, that gap up to 2 seconds doesn't seem like much, but it's enough for Martin Kroenke right now. And what we've talked about so often is him managing that gap.
He does that really well. And we don't know whether he's pushing full pelt. And I think
He's
a
not
driver like
pushing
Mitchell
full
de Jong... But I think a driver like Mitchell de Jong, he actually does give Kroenke a good run for his money. There's something that Kroenke's figured out. And de Jong, he really, as I said, he really pushes him to the absolute limit. Just remember that every race de Jong has finished has been in second. He's had one DNF at Montreal. And right now, he looks like he's going to finish second again. So, common occurrence.
The thing that amazes me, though, is that we still could have a Coanda 1-2-3 in this event because of how close Matt Bakken is to the rear Frank Shawhorse. And let's not forget, the last time we talked about controversy in Matt Bakken before his most recent disqualification was him as a Radicals Online driver versus Hugo Louise. And Bakken loves this track, although he's fallen into the clutches of Gregor Hutu as they work themselves down the back straightaway. And this will give Hutu a potential mini opportunity as they come down in towards 130R. Can Hutu capitalize on that? The answer is going to be no. But Bakken, this is one of his best tracks.
Yep, definitely is. So, I know Backham now on the exit gets a better run. And most importantly, Hutu with DRS going to run out at the end of the straight. Now, I like the fact that you mentioned lap 28 would be the last of the pit stop windows. I don't think you should be going more than 50% of the distance through. 53 lap event, lap 27 is effectively halfway through the race. So anything until lap 28, you're really not utilizing the most out of the tires. And we know that fuel isn't as big as it used to be with the Williams, but with a lighter car towards the end of the event, you want to use more laps on that set of tires because there is a lighter car that's easier on the Pirelli rubber.
And one thing we've not talked about is, and this is the first time we talk about it all weekend long, the Japanese tarmac as well, because it's a different type of tarmac to what you often see at European racetracks.
Yep, laser scan racetrack here, and also simulators as it should be at Suzuka. So this is a racetrack where it can take its toll on these tires, and the 42-degree track temp doesn't help, but this season it's all one-stops, no question. No matter the track temp, no matter what, these tires for 2017 are quite durable compared to last year. So expect the one-stops anyway. The pit window is about to open, though. Let's get excited. And Kroenke
You tell you what, Antoine Heggelin almost got passed there by Bono House on the exit of Spoon Curve. And Bono House was actually almost too argumentative in the way that he was trying to find his way through. That cost him a run down into 130R because Bono House tried to stick that nose down where it didn't belong on the exit of the corner. If he just laid back a little bit, he could have well been up into P number 8 right now.
Yeah, definitely can. And Heggelin had a twitch there on the exit. Bono with DRS. Let's have a look at this.
On board of Bono House as he comes down towards turn number 1. Nowhere near close enough. Bono House tries, it looked like a lunge actually. It's another lunge actually as he tries to go past Antoine Heggelin. Oh, that's Martin Piatella. I take that back. And Bono House a few, but that means that the driver Martin Piatella is down into P number 11. And I don't know, is that a mistake by Martin Piatella, or is that a little bit too aggressive by the driver of Bono House? Here's the replay. We're going to find out for you now. In towards turn number 1 and turn number 2. Here's turn number 1. There's turn number 2. We'll cycle it on in. We'll just show it to you there that Martin Piatella was clearly on the left-hand side of the track. And we just freeze frame it again a couple of moments later. And I think that Martin Piatella actually, he did get tagged. He did get tagged by the Apex Racing UK machine.
Yep, so it was very, very aggressive by Heggelin, but the tap there, not much to say on that. They continue on anyway. Minimal damage for Piatella, so hopefully he can continue, but he does demote himself to P11. He's lost about, I'd say, 2 seconds, Will, from that. So, more importantly, Bono into P8. We know he has to finish 16th or higher to continue this championship to the next round. That's not a question anymore, I'd say.
You see, actually, having a look at the graphics, Heggelin didn't touch him. Actually, I will take that back. It looked as though that the driver of Martin Piatella looped it by himself, and that's not something you see by Martin Piatella that often.
Yeah, so Piatella, one of the most consistent drivers on the grid, more than experienced. And he comes now towards turn 1, so he's behind Filio. Now, does that mean he has to adjust his strategy, or does he still maintain?
Well, Heggelin has, because he's already on pit road.
Yeah. So Heggelin, the end of lap 20.
Long stop there by Antoine Heggelin. Takes tyres and 10.7 seconds for him. So that's about 7 seconds longer than he could well be. So Antoine Heggelin, regardless of this, actually will probably still come out behind Martin Piatella.
And is that because of the damage possibly? From
Maybe.
The Piatella incident?
Maybe.
So we don't know. And let's see where... So Heggelin now is in P25 behind Victor Prieto. And wow, is that not good for Anton Heggelin, who's had a great season in 2017.
But outside of our screens, Bono House has slowly creeps his way back up into 7th place in this event. So the idea of the championship ending here is not going to be a thing. This will be a case of championship comes down to the Nürburgring. But Bono House up into P number 7, he currently has himself 1.6 seconds behind him to Jamie Fluke. But the big issue is he's 7 seconds behind Marcus Jensen.
Yeah, so he's got clean track anyway, so I try to stay out as much as I can here, as long as you're not at risk of being undercut by any driver behind. So he continues. And if he notices that Fluke, Filio, Piatella, if they all come into the pit lane, which I don't think they have, it could be interesting. Look at Piatella here on the run on Filio.
Yep, so Martin Piatella then tries to work himself back up a position over the driver of Mogar Filo, and Piatella will get that move scored complete. And again, we often talk about the fact that Redline and Coanda don't have the straight line speed advantage. I think that's a big thing this year for Coanda. They designed their car to maximize their overtaking opportunities, because here is Martin Piatella on the exit of the Cassia Triangle, down towards turn 1. 4 car lengths back, down to 2 car lengths back, down to a long side, round the outside, round the outside, round the outside goes Piatella. And that was actually, that was overspeed there, but also a very well designed car.
Yeah, I know, that's one thing. So good stuff there from Marty. At the same time, I just want to go back to Bono. It's about 25 seconds you lose here by the time you rejoin the racetrack, and he's got a gap between Verges and Remignac. So if he wants to pit now, I think he could fit in that gap between P18 and P19, so that would help him on a charge towards Marcus Jensen. But I think the key is you don't want to be pitting before Marcus Jensen, so it's a dilemma here. Do you use the clean track in front, or do you pit now and gain the fresh rubber to try and pass Jensen?
I'd come in. With Bono House, he has to come in, and he holds that left line. He doesn't come in towards pit road this time by. I would rather come in before Jensen, because, and again, let's talk about McLaren for a moment. They've got that graphic on their screen to know where every single person is on their racetrack. I mean, Kroenke's got a 2.3 second advantage over Mitchell de Jong. Shawhorst over the driver of de Jong is 6 seconds. If the event that Shawhorst comes in towards pit road, he will fall right into that battle with himself and what we're talking about, Bono House right now. So I would argue that Bono House should come in early rather than later.
Yeah, that's true. Well, Filio's pitted now, so he thinks he's on the Will Vincent strategy, and he likes to come in at the end of lap 22 to begin lap 23, and so he feeds in that gap in P20. So yeah, as I said, if Bono pits now, it should work to his advantage. It's just the fact that I don't know what's going to happen if he doesn't pass Jensen through the undercut and then he's stuck behind him for the rest of the race because he's on older rubber. Then, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. It's a very difficult question.
Ollie Pacula still on P number 27 in this event here today. I mean, I know he's pitted just now, 8.7 second pit stop for him, but still, Ollie Pacula, Team Redline, you don't expect a Team Redline car to be in a net out 20th position here today, and Pacula is not having a good race day.
I don't know if he hasn't practiced much or there's something in the way, but this is un-Ollie Pacula-like. Definitely something going on behind the scenes. So, even if you haven't practiced much, though, Will, you'd say that they should be at the top of their game. It is their job to be practicing a lot, though, unless, personal commitments or other things get in the way, which I've had in my sim racing career, too. That's why I stopped, actually.
No comment. But Pacula,
let's have a look.
You go.
No, I was going to say, the drivers entering the pit lane. Let's have a look. Greg has pitted, Alexi Usiakolo, all the red line drivers coming in. Greg is out, though, and he's behind Diogo Oliveira and Daniel Bida. This is not good in terms of trying to undercut Backham and Shotthorst.
No, because all of a sudden he's now into two drivers. He cannot pass through the S's. He cannot pass through the S's. He cannot pass into the Dangers. So he does a very risky maneuver there inside of the Dunlop curve, but still he has a driver ahead of him. Daniel Bida, he will catch in the hairpin of a Hutu. That's a second and a half gone immediately.
Yep, so very interesting. And what's happening now, you're finding, is that a lot of these drivers who are pitted early are starting to catch traffic like Hutu. So the undercut may not work. Here they go now. Is Gregor trying to pass the Israeli driver Bida up Spoon curve. Is he going to let him through? And straight through goes the Finn.
He didn't need to, though. That's the issue. I think a lot of drivers think, okay, here's Gregor Hutu, I need to let him pass. They don't, because it's a battle for position. It's not a blue flag situation. And I think, we always talk about the yellow helmet of Ayrton Senna and how much that meant when you saw that in your head mirrors. The same thing applies, I would say, to the likes of Gregor Hutu.
Yep. So that's one thing. But who
Okay,
now is
so then-
going to have... Yep, Shotos, Backham, they're both in the pit lane. Who's going to get out first? No changes there. Shotos in front, Backham behind. Where's Mr. 5-time? He's rejoining the racetrack now.
So here is Marty Piatella. 3.3 seconds out and away he will go then. You got yourselves Daniel Bida on pit road. Diego Oliveira on pit road. But in terms of Marty Piatella, he's ahead of the driver of Antoine Hegelin by 0.3 of a second. So he's managed to make that one work for him. But out front, Martin Kroenke, De Jong, Jensen, House, Fluke, Decor, Michaels, Hapala haven't yet pitted. And I would say, actually, these guys staying out later will get the most advantage. Here is the driver of Martin Kroenke in towards the Casio Triangle on lap number 25 of 53. It's himself then to the right-hand side. Doesn't come in towards pit road just yet.
I think it's too early to pit because he is going to feed out just behind Fluke, and he may be held up by Jamie. So good stuff not to pit. But most importantly, Gregor Hutu actually jumps Mac Backham. So Shotos and Hutu now, the two red line cars, spoil the Coanda, or the possible Coanda 1, 2, 3.
And that's important because actually Coanda, as far as I know, has never had a 1, 2, 3 in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. There is Jamie Fluke on towards pit road.
Yep. So there they go. Fluke in the pit road. Jensen in front, the other Apex car. Who else is in there too? Is Bono House pits? He does. Bono into the pit lane too for red line. And look at the bumpy pit lane here. This is all laser scanned. Downhill. The boxes are very, very bumpy, and it's very difficult to enter your box. And long pit stop for Bono House. Wow.
Eight-second pit stop for Bono House. What's going on there?
So damage
He's
possibly.
behind Mocha Velo.
Oh, goodness me. So all that hard work, Bono, he was actually catching Marcus Jensen too towards the end of that stint. He had the pace.
He's
So that
15th.
is yeah.
I mean, you said
What can you say?
18th is what he needs to stay in the championship battle, but being P15, this will essentially mean at the next one, the Nürburgring, Martin Kroenke needs to turn up, basically not take a dump, and he will win the championship.
Yep, no, sorry, not 18th, 16th. So he's right on the bubble
Oh
now.
my word.
16th or higher, and this championship goes down to next round. Any lower now for Bono, and as Kroenke now enters the pit lane for Coanda, any lower, this championship is over at Suzuka, and Kroenke is the world champion again.
But the thing is, for Bono House, now you've got a very difficult situation. Do you fight your hardest and risk getting an incident, or do you just stay where you are and hope people ahead of you fall out of the road race? Mitchell de Jong leads this motor race because the driver Martin Kroenke comes out. He's made himself his pit stop, and the pit stop time was 4.1 seconds. That was exactly what he needed. David Decor on pit road as we speak as well, into his pit stall.
Yep. Easy away. Oh, it's so difficult in these pit boxes. I spoke about it. It's difficult to also spot your actual pit box too. You
Yes.
run wide. Oh, De Corps does he have issues on the exit? I thought he had issues
Nah, he's fine.
disabling his pit limiter, but now he's out and away. So thought he was a bit slow coming out there, but he hasn't lost too much time.
Stephen
He's
Michaels
just
right
ahead.
behind him though.
Yeah, just ahead of Stephen Michaels.
4 tenths of a second between Stephen Michaels and David Decor. We know that Stephen Michaels wants to prove himself, and he's been in so many tough situations in the World Championship Grand Prix Series. He is a long-time member, never had a podium finish here, but Vortex Sim Racing seems to be his best team he's ever been on.
And he's done a good job. Was with Twister in the past though, so
I liked him on
so,
Twister. I loved him on Twister, and actually one of the most positive people we ever saw in this series. But you know, he had a tough couple of years, moved to Vortex eventually, and I mean they've not fully delivered for him, but he's not been a bad driver. And again, his qualification wasn't bad here today.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. He's doing well. He's a hard worker, and I think he wants to do great. He wants to do well, and he, not that other drivers don't, but he has a little bit of extra to it. De Jong out of the pit lane. He's currently in second, and he waited to the end of the pit window, Will, to pit on lap 28.
Exactly what I said, right?
Yeah, we're both right this round. I like that.
Mitchell De Jong then comes on towards pit road, comes out of pit road, 4.3 seconds. Currently scored is 4 seconds behind his teammate Martin Kroenke. Here is a look then at your top 8 drivers as we just pass halfway here at Suzuka. Martin Kroenke leads by Mitchell De Jong. Ilka Happala in 3rd place. Ilka Happala has not yet pitted. Gregor Huchet in 4th. Matt Backham, Freddie Shawhorse, Marcus Hinton and Kazuki Umeshima rounds out your top 8. We're going to take you eSport TV side by side for a few moments here as we will bring you back more coverage after this.
iRacing, you wanted the best, you got them 4 abreast. Often imitated, never duplicated. The greatest show on dirt, the World of Outlaws.
Hey guys, Christopher Bell here. As you guys know, iRacing is coming out with dirt and it's been a long time coming. So I'm here today to kind of show you around the sprint cars and hopefully give you some insight for whenever you first drive it. So here we are at Williams Grove, gonna go out and make a couple laps in the 410 wing sprint car. I'm on default setup with a gear change to a 522. As we roll out of the pits, you guys might notice that the car wants to pull left and you have to hold the steering wheel right to go straight. That's normal for a sprint car because you have so much stagger, it's always trying to turn the car left. Once you get up to speed, that goes away. Going down the straightaways, Williams Grove has really long straightaways and really tight corners. The big wings on the sprint cars, it always wants to pull you left into the corner, so it doesn't take much steering wheel input to get the car into the corner. A big key for the wing sprint cars is that they always like to go straight. They don't like to be too sideways. So the less steering wheel input you can have and the straighter you can keep the car, the faster you'll go. As the track slickens off, you'll be able to play with the setup to get the car driving even straighter yet. And that's a couple laps around Williams Grove. So here we are at Eldora Speedway. I'm on baseline setup with a gear change to a 511. As we roll out at Eldora Speedway, one thing that you'll notice is that the corners are really sweeping and it's almost a circular shape. The big thing about Eldora is just keeping that steering wheel straight. The straighter you keep the wheel and the less steering input that you give the car, the faster you'll go. The fast line around Eldora will be right around the inside wall in the corners and then with a big arc towards the outside walls down the straightaways. Then once the track slicks off, you'll be able to follow the groove up towards the outside wall, where the famous Eldora High Line comes into play. So now we're at Volusia Speedway Park with the 410 wing sprint car. I'm on baseline setup with a 511 gear, the same as what we ran at Eldora. Whenever you roll out on the racetrack, you'll notice that Volusia is similar to Eldora. They have long sweeping corners, and it's kind of circular in shape. At Volusia, whenever the track is fast, you'll want to be right down against the concrete wall in the corners with a nice big arc down the straightaway. Whenever the track starts to slicken up, you'll be able to follow the groove up higher and higher. Whenever you get into turns 3 and 4 though, the groove might get up onto the shelf, which is the flatter section of the racetrack. and then it becomes very difficult to exit turn 4 without getting into the wall. And that's just one of the characteristics of Volusia Speedway Park. Hope you guys have fun.
Jamie Fluke just passed Antoine Hegelin for P number 9 on track. Johnny, talk us through it.
Well, it looked like team orders. I don't know what to say. Two Apex cars don't want to clash. It looked like such a simple move for Jamie Fluke. He just took the racing line. Hegelin moved out of the way ahead of 130R, and here they are, 9th and 10th now. They have to stay ahead of Mogar Filio. And what can Bonnerhouse do, Will, is the story to end this race over the next 22 laps. Can he redeem himself and still end up in the top 10? It looks like he will finish above 16th position, and he will carry on this championship to the next round.
Yeah, but the thing is, I mean, first of all, Jamie Fluke versus Antoine Hegelin, what a lot of people don't realize is we are into the crunch zone for not just the championship, but also for getting qualification for next year's World Championship Series.
Yeah, so all these points matter, and for the likes of Filio, where is he in the championship? Having a look at the list, so I think Filio is close. He's on the bubble, currently P30 in the championship heading into this round, so this 11th place finish for him will be immense. Just so critical for his points challenge.
Unless he is involved in an issue with Bonnerhouse, who's currently 4 turns a second behind him. Bonnerhouse then, a bad day by him and Team Redline, but it looks down to the inside, cannot make the move down until turn number 1 in that Team Redline car over the radical line machine of Mogar Filio. And the fact that Mogar Filio got pole position a year ago, does that help his self-esteem, do you think?
It's 1 year later, a lot changes. We know in the real world with car development, 12 months makes a huge difference. In sim racing anyway, I mean, think about all those hours and days of testing over the past 365 days. So this is teamwork. What can the team do to get better? And so far, I'm impressed with Radicals. Umashima 7th, Filio 11th. These are the two guys on the front row last year. I remember they were much worse than this last year. So right now, great result for them. I think their self-esteem would be better than the pole position they had last year.
Okay, but Bonnerhouse right behind the driver of Mogar Filio right now. Let's give you a little bit of RaceSport TV fan immersion. Lap times for about 2 minutes in the RaceSport Super Cup, about 1 minute 49 in the Sim Cup early on today. They are currently scored about 1 minute 34 here, the fastest lap in the RaceSport TV iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, which has got Bonnerhouse versus Mogar Filio. And actually, again, for a lot of drivers, they don't realize why are we focusing on P number 12, but the reason for that is here, Johnny, because of how important Bonnerhouse's finishing position is.
Yeah, exactly. He has to finish above 16th. If Kroenke wins, by the way, if Kroenke finishes 3rd, Bono needs to finish lower. I haven't done that calculation, so we don't know. But he's got a shot here at P11, does Bonnerhouse, up to 335 kilometers an hour, and can't make his way past Mogar. But looking at the order anyway, Will, if we go through the grid, top 2, Kroenke, de Jong, same as usual this season. 1-2 occurrence. Should we get used to this for the final 2 rounds?
Maybe, one would argue, maybe. Here is the moves and shakers in this event so far after pit stops has been scored complete. And well, de Jong and Kroenke are the same as what they are. Hutu is up 1 position, back him up 2. But look at the drivers of Marti Piatella and Suzuka Umashima. They made big gains in this event here today. We're looking at the drivers of Mogar Fila and Bono House. Bono House has made up positions here today. He's made up a total of 0 positions since the end of that number 1, but he started P number 16. So for Bono House, he has got to really think about what he can do now to keep that championship alive.
Yeah. Well, let's think about this. Even if he came into this round and finished 2nd to Kroenke, did he still really have a realistic chance? I mean, Kroenke was almost 2 races ahead, really. And he hasn't lost a race this season. So, I mean, going by that, I'd say that they really had no chance of winning the championship, no matter where Bono finishes today. That's my opinion.
But you remember the chase situation. I say chase situation. It's the last 4 rounds, no drop week supply. Kroenke could have been out of this race, well, we knew.
Yep. Oh, Bono goes up the inside here. Filio almost contact made, and Bono barges his way through to P11, and Alexei Usiakala makes his way past through. So a team red line double pass there on the Radicals car of Mogar Filio.
That is replay worthy, deserving. Let's get ourselves a second look at that one. Let's ride on board then with the driver of Mogar Filio from the rear. And then check out the driver of Bono House. House looks down to the inside and towards turn number 1. Gets that move scored complete through turn number 2. But what you can see there from behind is the fact that Alexei Usiakala moved himself, as you said there, Johnny, into P number 12.
Yeah, it was the second twitch that cost Filio. So he was on a line that wasn't rubbered in at all. Dirty part of the racetrack, and we know at this point of the race, Will, it was 2 years ago to the day, I think, or at least the Suzuka around 2 years ago, where the dynamic track was first implemented in iRacing. So good to see it still in full effect and still working well there, and Filio caught out by that dirty part of the track.
Yeah, and Mogar Filio, he just got tucked up into that dirty air, and as a consequence of that meant that he lost the traction down into the first part of the S's, now down into P number 13. And that's a shame, really, for Mogar Filio, because he traditionally is strong at this racetrack.
Yeah, he is. So, Brazilian, strong at the Japanese racetrack. 2 combinations where you start to think of Ayrton Senna and all the history he's had here. And could one of these drivers possibly, with World's Fastest Gamer coming up, Will, for iRacing in a few weeks' time, could one of these drivers possibly be a Formula 1 driver in the future if sim racing is really valued over the next 5 to 10 years?
Yes, indeed. So we've also had contact from the director of competition of iRacing, Shannon Whitmore, talking about the way the aggression kind of worked a little bit in this series, and the fact that actually a lot of these drivers will end up going through the Pro Series next year. But that's the thing for a lot of these drivers. They've got to think about it's outside your top 15. It's not about, just it's just another race to me. It's about let's qualify for the 2018 World Championship Series, because there'll be less drivers next year.
Yeah, so that's very, very important. Every point matters. And at this point of the event anyway, I think any Coanda redline driver shouldn't need to worry, but that's why Alexei Usiakala is back on the grid, isn't he? Yeah. He doesn't want to imagine seeing him in the Pro Series again. That's just, I don't know, it's just weird. It's 2 names that he's done. He's over that. He shouldn't be there anymore. So he's a driver that should move on. Drivers I'm looking forward to seeing back on the grid next season, or at least this season, first of all, is Graham Carroll. Let's see what he can do. Peter Berryman, who hasn't come back since his pole position at Monza. That's very, very weird. But next season, Sebastian Job for Core. If he comes back to the championship, that would be great. Frederick Rasmussen, from Core as well. I mean, that team is going to be so good next year. And we spoke about it last round anyway.
Yeah, indeed. So I'm going to try and be brave and call out Shannon Whitmore here to see whether he's got a couple of words for us as we end ourselves towards the end of the championship. But still, out front, we've got ourselves Martin Kroenke leading the way. And the gap between Martin Kroenke and Mitchell de Jong is now up to 5.5 seconds here today, Johnny.
Yeah, so that's very, very close. I mean, we know at Monza that de Jong finished at 0.797 behind Martin Kroenke for the victory, but de Jong did actually lead 34 laps of that event. So this time out, he's only led 2, and that was during the pit stop phase. Kroenke's led all of the others. Very, very close behind. And good to see Gregor in P3 too. He's done a good job this round to make his way up there, but he's under attack from the red line car, the Coanda car of Mac Backham.
Yeah, and for Gregor Hutu, it's a weird situation because he's not had the season he would have wanted to have, but he is still ahead of the Coanda car. But the thing is that if Backham finds a way past, it'll be kind of 1, 2, 3 here today. And again, as I said earlier, I don't think I've ever seen that here in the World Championship Series.
Yeah, so definitely hasn't happened for Coanda. They haven't been 1, 2, 3 before in the World Championship. You said it has happened to Redline, and we do know that. So it could be a first here today, but imagine if Backham gets past Hutu. Now, I'm not trying to bring up the Hugo Luis crash from 2015. Mac is a changed driver.
Yes.
Although we do remember what happened at Indianapolis 2 weeks ago. We got him the race suspension. When I get to the Casio Triangle in the braking zone, I'm getting nervous. Mac Backham, though, incredible talent, good sense of humor, good guy, and future world champion, I'd say, if he keeps on improving.
The thing for me, though, about this event is the fact that for Hutu, he seems to just be hanging on for me. It's like he doesn't really want to push it that much anymore. He's looking to 2018, not looking to getting race wins, getting himself podiums, etc. And I think Backham can see that in the way he's driving this racetrack.
Yeah. That's a good thing you bring up too. What is their motivation now to end the season? Because are they trying things differently? Are they taking more risks? Surely they have to be trying to find something with the setups, even just with how you drive this car, that may work. And you want to beat Coanda fair and squarely too. You don't want to get secret access to their data, which would be illegal anyway. So, Gregor, set yourself up for next season. But is he going to be racing next season? I mean, we don't even know. Some people tip him for retirement. I don't think so. I think he's still up for it. I don't think age really matters. I mean, yeah, okay, he's 37, but age at the moment, and he's celebrating his 38th birthday at the end of this month.
The issue for Hutu this year, in my opinion, is that he's currently scored in P number 11 in the championship. That's not a thing that most people are expecting to be in, but also remember the fact that Hutu didn't compete in certain rounds of the championship. So for Hutu, this is a case of this is my rebuild.
It is, and this will be the first season he's actually never won a race. So, I mean,
no one's won a race though, apart from Kroenke. So
yeah, so that's my point. Is that this is very unlike Gregor.
Am I right
now,
that after this race, that Kroenke will extend the biggest winning streak over Gregor Hutu though? Because of course this will go back to the end of last year into this year. And Kroenke's getting close, if not. Oh, man, Backham side by side there with Gregor Hutu. And Backham moves himself up to the third place, but at the expense of Gregor Hutu.
Oh, well, every time we've had contact, or every time we've had battles, there's been contact. Does Hutu have terminal damage? No, he continues, albeit in the 6th position. And that is a Coanda 1, 2, 3. And that's the last thing Mac Backham needed returning from a race suspension.
So he hangs around the outside, then ducked down to the inside of Gregor Hutu, pushes Gregor Hutu. Hutu spins then down the exit of turn number 2, loses 1, loses 2, loses 3 positions. I didn't have a replay to actually try and ascertain what happened there, but Johnny, we're talking so highly about both drivers, and then they make incident.
Yeah, Hutu kept his line, though. You don't want to be out on that curb there because it's so short. It can beat your car. So I think it really was Mac that needed to give more room. We don't know if any of them have severe damage right now. Because if they do, and if Backham has damage as well, it could allow Craig Schotthaus a shot here at P3.
Yeah, here's a look then as they come into the incident area. Here's Hutu on the outside line. There's Backham on the inside. That's Backham, not Hutu, in my opinion, because Backham pushed wide. Hutu had very little places to go there. Hutu gets turned around. I would say that's on Backham, not on Hutu.
Yep, it definitely is. I agree. So Matt continues, though. And will this Coanda 1-2-3 stand? Possibly.
Well, it'll stand, but of course there'll be a penalty, of course, for the next race. And the thing is that that's now 2 years out of 3 that Backham's been involved in a controversial issue at this racetrack.
Yeah, exactly. More bad memories. Well, at least it gave us a little bit of something very interesting for this race. Hasn't been the most entertaining race in the World Championship history, but not every race can be top of the list there. You know what we should have done? We should just give these guys one set of tires for the whole 2 weeks of testing. Just the whole 2 weeks of testing. As we look at a battle here for P7 between Umashima and Piatella. I doubt they'd probably explode halfway through the race, wouldn't they?
Yeah, they probably would do. Let's go on board actually the driver of Piatella right now. He's got himself the driver of Jamie Fluke right behind him. And Fluke again in the Apex Racing UK machine. He's trying to get that 8th position.
Yep, here he goes, Jamie Fluke. Both cars twitching there. They're on the limit here. They're pushing. These tyres aren't fresh, so it's going to be more difficult for him towards the end of the event.
Down towards 130R they come then on their 42nd lap of 53 here on Racesport TV and on iRacing Live. We're going to step aside for one brief moment. We're back with more after this.
iRacing, you wanted the best, you got them 4 abreast. Often imitated, never duplicated. The greatest show on dirt, the World of Outlaws.
Hey guys, Christopher Bell here. As you guys know, iRacing is coming out with dirt and it's been a long time coming. So I'm here today to kind of show you around the sprint cars and hopefully give you some insight for whenever you first drive it. So here we are at Williams Grove, gonna go out and make a couple laps in the 410 wing sprint car. I'm on default setup with a gear change to a 522. As we roll out of the pits, you guys might notice that the car wants to pull left and you have to hold the steering wheel right to go straight. That's normal for a sprint car because you have so much stagger, it's always trying to turn the car left. Once you get up to speed, that goes away. Going down the straightaways, Williams Grove has really long straightaways and really tight corners. The big wings on the sprint cars, it always wants to pull you left into the corner, so it doesn't take much steering wheel input to get the car into the corner. A big key for the wing sprint cars is that they always like to go straight. They don't like to be too sideways. So the less steering wheel input you can have and the straighter you can keep the car, the faster you'll go. As the track slickens off, you'll be able to play with the setup to get the car driving even straighter yet. And that's a couple laps around Williams Grove. So here we are at Eldora Speedway. I'm on baseline setup with a gear change to a 511. As we roll out at Eldora Speedway, one thing that you'll notice is that the corners are really sweeping and it's almost a circular shape. The big thing about Eldora is just keeping that steering wheel straight. The straighter you keep the wheel and the less steering input that you give the car, the faster you'll go. The fast line around Eldora will be right around the inside wall in the corners and then with a big arc towards the outside walls down the straightaways. Then once the track slicks off, you'll be able to follow the groove up towards the outside wall, where the famous Eldora High Line comes into play. So now we're at Volusia Speedway Park with the 410 wing sprint car. I'm on baseline setup with a 511 gear, the same as what we ran at Eldora. Whenever you roll out on the racetrack, you'll notice that Volusia is similar to Eldora. They have long sweeping corners, and it's kind of circular in shape. At Volusia, whenever the track is fast, you'll want to be right down against the concrete wall in the corners with a nice big arc down the straightaway. Whenever the track starts to slicken up, you'll be able to follow the groove up higher and higher. Whenever you get into turns 3 and 4 though, the groove might get up onto the shelf, which is the flatter section of the racetrack, and then it becomes very difficult to exit turn 4 without getting into the wall. And that's just one of the characteristics of Volusia Speedway Park. Hope you guys have fun.
On board with Jamie Fluke then as he versus Marty Piatella, P number 8 in this race here today. And Johnny, well, that's the thing we've been seeing, not at the front of your field, but down in your mid-pack, people realizing that if they're going to get themselves into next year's World Championship Series, they need to make passes.
They do. They have to. Every pass, every point matters towards the end of this race. And we're watching through RaceSport TV side by side on iRacing Live. We're watching the battle between Umeshima, Piatella, Jamie Fluke. And Jamie Fluke, rookie in this series. He was someone who had to go through the Pro Series. The same for Marcus Jensen. Schotthorst, also a rookie in this series. So those three all out and away. And technically, by the way, Will, as much as we've known Mac Backham for many years, he's technically classified as a rookie this year too.
Yes, indeed so. But actually what I was thinking about is the fact that Jamie Fluke in that Apex Racing UK machine cannot find a way past Marty Piatella in that number 96 even, for the Sim Sports machine.
Yeah, so just looking into Spoon, such a tight corner, it's not really an overtaking spot. Your other best overtaking spots are into the braking zone of the Casio Triangle, turn 1, the hairpin, and I mentioned the entrance to Spoon, although it's very, very difficult. He's very close here though, look, Will, look at this. He's in the slipstream. Is he going to have a look into the hairpin? No, no chance. But look at the lockup though from Marty.
Yeah, and Marty actually gets a bad run for the exit then of the final corner. Jamie Fluke to the outside. Can he use ERS and DRS? For some reason, the driver of Marty Piatella will have DRS available for him because there's 1 second between himself and a lap down car, and that will label the driver of Marty Piatella to stay in P number 8 for the time being. Piatella, good job here today, moving himself forward, but for Jamie Fluke, he needs to be patient and allow Piatella to fall out of that DRS range and then go for the move.
Yeah, exactly. So he has to sort of force Piatella offline. I mean, Piatella, I think, is out of DRS range now. He's fallen to within over a second behind Umeshima. So now may be the right time, as you say.
But he's still within 4/10 of a second of the driver of Marty Piatella. Piatella currently scored in that 5th position on track. Piatella is still within 1 second of the driver of Kazuki Umeshima. Umeshima all the way up into 7th place here today. And again, we said that Radicals can make this track work for them. Last time out, they got qualifying sorted and then they sucked in the race. Today, it's almost the opposite.
Yeah, so good stuff from Radicals, and good stuff for Mishima at his home race too at Suzuka. And this would be his best result actually at Suzuka in his career. So we also know Motegi used to be on the calendar until this year as well. So Japanese drivers have had a lot of home rounds, but at Suzuka anyway, this will be his best result, Kazuki Mishima, in the World Championship.
There is Kazuki Mishima right on board of him. The gap between himself and the driver behind, that is Masaki Teller, and it is 1 second on track right now. Lap number 47 off 53 here today. The thing is, the closing battles we have going on, there aren't many of them here, Johnny, but, you know, there's still one or two that need to pay attention to. And actually, this is the biggest one. P number 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 on track.
Yep, they're all very close. One of those fallen back quite a bit, so don't know if that long pit stop he had earlier, if he's got damage that's hindered him most of the event, but good to see him in the top 10. He's ahead of his teammate Alexei Siakala. This is a very good battle here as well. And don't forget Mogar Filio in 14th. Behind him, Stephen Michaels, Ilkka Happala, 2 drivers also fighting away.
We're on board with Jamie Fluke right now as he exits the hairpin down towards Spoon Curve. Fastest lap, 1 minute 33.605. That is actually, get this, half a second slower almost than Martin Piatella ahead of him. How can you expect to pass a driver when you're that slow compared to them, one would argue? But again, that is the fastest lap, not the average lap or lap they are doing right now. For the driver of Jamie Fluke, he is battling his hardest as they come down into 130R right now. Not able to do anything between that battle, but Alexei Yakola is still trying to hunt down the driver of Bonner House for P number 10.
Yep, he is. I don't think they'll make too much of a move there. Bono is
mainly
still going
because
for
Bonner
prize
House are the
money.
same team, aren't they?
Yeah, they're the same team, so that's what I'm thinking. And Bono's going for prize money too. Everybody in the top 10, isn't it, in the World Championship will get some form of prize or award. Kroenke will get that big paycheck, which will hopefully be $1 million next season. I know iRacing's planning on that. No, I'm putting them under the pump. But yeah, I think the red line cars anyway, just focus on seeing if they can get ahead of Fluke. And just remember, drivers get feisty come the end of the event. You know, it's been a very slow event for most of these guys. They've been stuck behind a lot of other drivers, so it's not going to be easy. Remeniek has spun, by the way, and that's at 130R, and I think Meglich is also involved, possibly.
Let's get a replay if we can there with Banis Remeniek, and well, here's him going very slowly down at the triangle. Replay that one.
Does that happen at 130R, I think?
Oh my word!
Oh. So what's happened there? Meglich has just slowed down at 130R. He's had some form of issue possibly, or was letting Remeniek through.
Lack of communication, maybe?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because the two made contact and the speed differential was so big there. Both ended up into the kitty litter. Remeniek, P number 28. Meglich down P number 29. And lack of communication, that's all I can say. Bedo is currently, who was scored as very close behind Diego Oliveira, but has got himself ahead of Oliveira for the time being. The Israeli driver of Daniel Bedo currently scored in P number 18 ahead of him. We've got ourselves the drivers. I'm having a look for battles going on track right now. Closest battle is the one going on between Jamie Fluke and Bonner House and Alexei Yakola, and that is for P number 9, 10, and 11.
Yep. They're still continuing away, aren't they? And Meglich also received a penalty. Whoa! Fluke almost lost it. He's done that a few times this race, Will. And Fluke there, clumsy, just on the straight. Oh, boy, that was close on the run down to Spoon.
Replay up for him. hits the grass. That's what the issue is there, Johnny.
Yeah, he's just on the straight. That's not really a corner. I mean, it's just full throttle, easy. Just lost a bit of concentration there, Jamie. And he's probably, we talked about tight gripping the wheel, remember last round? That could possibly be one of the issues that Jamie's spoken to me about, and that's something that he's tried to improve on. And that's never a good thing to do towards the end of the event. And
it's funny because you talked about the fact that 130R is so easy to go through in a modern Formula car, but for the exit spoon curve, actually, if you got a driver behind you, that's the kind of warning signal goes on into your head.
Yeah, it does. I think on your own in qualifying, 130R is just simple. You're not using DRS through there anyway because you would be flying off into the crowd, and that's not safe. So rear wing flap closed, not available there for good reasons. But when you're battling with someone else, that's where things get feisty. That's where you have to be spatially aware of the drivers around you. Safety first, as our race steward Shannon Whitmore likes to say, and reminds these drivers before every event. Here's the scene of the incident for Jamie Fluke. Continues this time around unscathed. How long's he been stuck behind Piatella? It's been
far too long.
An abundance of laps. There's only 3 laps remaining too, so he'll be bittersweet celebration that the race is over, but not the fact that he could get past Piatella.
Especially the fact that Jamie Fluke is currently scored in 9th place on the racetrack, Piatella in 8th, but also the good thing for the likes of Jamie Fluke is that Bonnerhouse has scored in 11th place in this event so far, as we head ourselves now down to 2 laps to go for these drivers. But I would say that, again, we haven't talked about Martin Kroenke all race long, but Martin Kroenke, again, has done all he needs to do. He's got a gap of 4.6 seconds ahead of Mitchell de Jong by nowhere.
Yeah. So de Jong's kept him honest, though. So as you said, you think de Jong might be taking, Kroenke might be taking it just slightly easier, but Mitchell de Jong in P2 is within 5 seconds for this whole race. And so Kroenke, you mentioned before about his win streak. If he wins every race this season, along with the final round of last year, that will actually match Gregor Hutu's career, the all-time record win streak. Yep. So that's important. By the way, just quickly to add in, Marcus Jensen in 5th position. Career high result last time at Spa with 5th. And again, he's here to match it again. And for a guy that's only, by the way, Will, 16 years of age in his rookie season.
Here's the question. Does the number of races won mean anything to the likes of Martin Kroenke?
You're talking about the fact that he's going to clean sweep the season, or
maybe,
in what sense?
Maybe clean sweep the season.
Maybe, that's certainly a record. I mean, you ask any sport, I know you hate them, but you ask the Patriots when they went 16-0, you ask the Golden State Warriors 73-9, they didn't win the World Championship. But in motor racing, it's different. If you win every race, you win the championship. There's no playoffs, there's no finals, there's no the chase for the cup. I think it does matter, and I think it will just assert his dominance. So as we look at this battle here between Billy Michaels and Harpala to end the race with 2 laps remaining, it definitely will matter, Will. Trust me. Kroenke is a secret affection for this kind of stuff.
We are towards the end of the motor race, and here is Martin Kroenke. He leads away, coming towards actually the white flag lap of this motor race here today. And Martin Kroenke, again, has been unstoppable. 4.5 seconds over Mitchell de Jong as he'll take the white flag this time by.
Yeah, brilliant race from Martin Kroenke. And he's led every lap at 2, and those 2 were led by de Jong during the pit stop phase, but de Jong's still within 5 seconds, as we mentioned, keeping him honest. But what a race it's been for Martin Kroenke, and this will be 10 out of 10 in 2017.
Martin Kroenke then onto the white flag lap here at Suzuka. He has won every single round of the championship so far, but the important thing is he will win again here today unless he makes a big mistake, and we don't expect him to do that one. But Martin Kroenke, He may well not take part in World's Fastest Gamer, but he has been a big part of the 2017 iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. He has led about 95% of laps, and we go on board with him then as he finishes his race at Suzuka. Out of the final corner, Martin Kroenke wins round number 10 of the championship. He now goes 10 for 10 in the championship. And Johnny, we've not seen this since 2010. And Kroenke, I would argue, his now ability to basically maximize every single victory, that is on par at least of what we saw back 7 years ago.
Yeah, this is amazing. And for those of you who may have missed it in the inaugural season, this is exactly what it looked like. Too dominant, scary. People were bored of it because it was just unbeatable. And this is the way it works in motor racing. Anytime someone's on this level, it's frustrating for all the competitors. But most importantly, he's got a sidekick alongside him of Mitchell Dion, who... And Mac Backham in P3, I should say, as well, on the podium. Coanda 1, 2, 3 for the first time this season, although Redline won't be happy, I'm sure, with Mac Backham up there in P3 because of the incident with Hutu. But good result nevertheless for Mac.
A result is a result at the end, and actually what I would say is that for Coanda to get 1, 2, 3 in this series in round number 10, they've got to be happy with that one.
Yeah. Wow, incredible stuff. Coanda, team of the season by far.
Yep.
And Kroenke's been a great leader for them, so good stuff. As the rest of the field starts to cross the line now to win the race. By the way, Daniel Laurent was black flagged on the final lap, unfortunately, so his race was done from P26.
Martin Kroenke does lead the way for a Coanda podium 1, 2, and 3. Team Redline in 4th place, with the driver of Marcus Jensen in 5th for Apex Racing UK. Team Redline gets Gregor Hutu in 6th, Kazuki Omishima in 7th. Then you got Marty Piatella, Jamie Fluke, and Bono House running out your top 10. The championship will go down to the next race at the Nürburgring, but we know that it's a case of show up and win it for the driver of Martin Kroenke. There's the remainder of the results up on the screen right now. Alexi Yusuakota in 11th place, with Antoine Hegelin in 12th. Yuji Saito and then Moga Filo and Ilka Hapada round out your top 15 as the remainder of the results come up on your screen as we speak. He says, we will step aside for one moment here, ladies and gentlemen, on RaceSport TV and on iRacing Live. When we come back, it'll be time to talk to drivers who came home high after Monza here on RaceSport TV and on iRacing Live.